couple of days ago, my father was narrating the story of his first job interview. Back then, a youth hardly in his early 20s, just out of IIT Delhi, he had applied for this job in Mumbai. Coincidentally, he met one of his batchmates sitting amongst a few other candidates who had, of course, applied for the same post as my father had. That batchmate of his, to specify, was the topper of the batch. My father kept his calm and waited patiently for his turn to come, notwithstanding the anxiety he had in his mind about what would happen next. Finally, when all the interviews were done, one of the senior officers just came up to him and told him that he was in, without any further thought about it, leaving my father wondering that how that batchmate of his, whose academic achievements and knowledge were superior to his own, was kept on hold for the post still, while he, my father, wasn't. That officer told him that that batchmate of his, however intelligent, did not have the confidence and stance enough to convince what he was and what he could do. He said, "Your attitude was enough to surpass his aptitude." So, what is attitude? To define precisely, attitude is a predisposition or a tendency to respond positively or negatively towards a certain idea, object, person, or a situation. Attitude influences an individual choice of action or responses towards challenges, incentives, and rewards, together called stimuli. The basic ABC model of attitude is A for the affective component, which refers to the emotional reaction one has. B for the behavioral component, which refers to the way one behaves. And C for the cognitive component, which refers to the belief and opinion one holds consciously. Thus, all these A, B, C components comprise the stimulus which puts us to action in accordance to the situation we are put in. Attitude, thus, is basically a mindset or a standpoint an individual braces up for as he progresses in life. It speaks loads about one's personality. On the other hand, aptitude. Aptitude is the acquired or natural ability for learning or proficiency in a specific area or discipline. Aptitude is expressed interest and it is reflected. Aptitude is expressed interest and it is reflected in our Aptitude is expressed interest and it is reflected in our current performance. Aptitude is expressed interest and it is reflected in our current performance and is expected to improve over time with training. Thus, aptitude on a whole is developed knowledge and understanding one possesses. To understand the relation between the two better, let us take the example of a simple cake. So, when we get into a cake shop, we never choose the one which looks very pale or very ordinary. We choose that one which has an alluring icing and which looks just beautiful, without giving a second thought to the fact that how its texture or foundation would be like from within. This simple human psychology shows how easily we are driven by external appearances. And this very characteristic of ours, psychologists say, it forms the basic mode of choice in our workplaces, colleges, universities, societies, and such other institutions. Saying this doesn't imply that aptitude has no worth enough. Yes, attitudes are the guiding forces of aptitudes, but when infected with pride, they can be as useless as an abandoned car which has been left to rust and waste through time. Thus, true success depends on how well we manage both of them together, that is, on what attitudes we possess and how well we implement them. Of which, number one is determination, which we've learned as toddlers when we got up each time after we stumbled. 2, fortitude, which we discovered as we wiped our tears and learned to move on each time after being hurt. And 3, courage, which we acquired as we learned to cope with the hazards of the environment. Attitude is more important than facts. Attitude is more important than our past, education, money, circumstances, failures and success. Attitudes is more important than our ability or skill. And the remarkable thing is, we have a choice every day in our life to decide what our attitude will be. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the action of it. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the actions of others. We cannot change the future. But the only thing we can change is our attitude. With relation to this, another example. Early this year, in the beauty pageant contest of Miss Philippines 2018, Sandra Lemonin, one of the contestants, was asked in the Q&A round to express her views on the Build, Build, Build program in her country. Not knowing much about the same, Sandra did not give an ordinary answer by just telling the little she knew about it. Instead, without any hesitation, she told the judges with utmost honesty that though she had worked hard for the Q&A round, that was a topic she didn't know much about. Though such an answer couldn't win her the crown, but definitely made her far more famous than the one who actually won the title that night. Sandra was an overachiever already, even without the crown. There are various such instances in life where how we react to this catalyst named attitude wins us the most unexpected things, the most remarkable things. It's been truly said, there are two things that define us: our patience when we have nothing and our attitude when we have everything. The truth to the message is, wherever we start from, it is our attitude that will dictate where we end up. Everything else is unchangeable. Our circumstances are our circumstances, but be it in our career, sport or life, how we play the cards is far more important than what hands we were dealt in. Thus, to conclude, it is our attitude over aptitude that builds the altitude. Thank you.